I am Dr. Tanya Coakley, and I'm going to give some instruction on using SPSS, the statistical program to analyze data. Just a couple of quick notes. This is set up like any other word processing file. You have your file here. If you wanted to open a new data set, just click New, and then if you have an existing one that you want to work with, just click Open. Okay, save it just as you would any other file that you're used to doing, name it, and save that there. There are some other characteristics here in regards to these headers. The main one that I'm going to focus on is analysis. Looking at analysis, so if you click on Analyze, you'll see a number of what's called procedures or tests that you can run. And just recall from the workbook that all of these have to do with taking into consideration the level of measurement as well as the number of variables that you want to study. Okay, so one thing I want to point out is that all of these are variables here, and this is an existing general social science data set that we're using for this workbook. If you were to conduct your own study, you would have your own set of variables here. You can also look at this as what's called a code book, where you not only have the variable names here, like for instance, respondents were asked in regards to their low income, can they afford more children? So if you click over here, you'll get an idea of the levels. So yes and no, and then there are some other things that they may not apply. So don't know, not applicable, and so forth. So this is just numbers that the researcher assigned. We're just going to pay attention to yes and no. Okay. So I like to point that out: variable and your value or your level of measurement. And then if you would look down here, the reason we're able to see all this information about the variable is because we're in what's called the variable view. If you click over here to data view, you'll see all the data that are entered. Okay, so for that particular variable, it's pretty deep in the data set. You can find it somewhere in here, and you'll just see the different responses, like 1 or 2 that the respondent answered. Okay, and I won't take time to actually find that particular variable. Okay, so I actually found it here, so it's under AB poor, and if you kind of hover over that heading there, you'll see exactly the variable name: low income, can't afford more children. All right, so these are all the responses, 1, 2, and it corresponds with the value and I just clicked over to data variable view to get a look at that again, and come to the values column, and then again it just corresponds with the values here. I just wanted to show you that. So next, what I'd like to do is to go to Analyze and actually show you how to run a frequency. And that's important just to get an idea of how many incidents of a particular variable response or level of the variable are indicated. And if you go to descriptive statistics, go to frequencies, and you could look at something like condom use, reduce AIDS. So folks were asked what their opinion on that was. So we'll just go to make sure that, and where I got this from is all the list of your variables are here. You'll find the variable that you're interested in, and then send it right over here to the variables list. All right, so we have our frequencies, our variables list. And you can get a number of statistics as well as the charts. If you're interested in any of the central tendencies, depending on the level of measurement, again, you can come here, any measures of dispersion, come here and make your selection. For now, and then I just wanted to show you the charts. If you're interested in displaying your data graphically, you can choose a pie chart, a bar chart, or a histogram. And again, that depends on your level of measurement. So we'll go ahead and run this. And this is what comes up. We have this right here, the N, that signifies your sample. So for this particular question on their opinion about condoms reducing AIDS, 1,758 folks responded, and then we have 780 who didn't. Let's see if I could move that. It talks about the frequency, you have the relative frequency, and then what's valid. And the valid just means it takes into consideration that all these folks did not answer. And so I just want to scroll down to the actual graph here, and it's perfectly fine to use a pie chart when you have nominal level data. And with SPSS, you can actually get a little bit more information just by clicking into the actual graph. And then if you just like to get the actual frequency of one slice of the pie or the graph, you can do it this way, or you can take a shortcut and get onto that. Okay, so we already started. We'll just go ahead with this. There's a shortcut. You can just click onto this little graph here, that icon. All right. And once you've done editing your graph, you can also choose the colors. And I'll just let you guys play around with that if you like. But we'll just kind of come back here, and then this is it will be superimposed to your original analysis and graph. I did want to point out that you can actually go back to Analyze from this graph chart, or you could click over. You can see my original data set is right behind this window. So you just have to go to Analyze and Descriptive Statistics again. Frequency, your variable will still be here until you return it to the data set list. But I want to go here just to show you where you can get the appropriate central tendency, and this is just a way of averaging the data. If you're using nominal level data, you would go to mode to run that analysis, and we'll look at the most common level of your variable here. All right, so just click OK. And so before we didn't have that included, we'll just actually go down. See, in the original, we didn't have it included here. And so I just want to see where now it is included here. So mode is 1, and what that means is 1 is it indicates that yes, so that means that yes is the most popular or the most frequent response given by the respondents. So now I'd like to give you an example using ordinal level data and use the bar chart, the actual bar chart. And if you have an idea of, if you want to get an idea if you're using someone else's data set, of what the level of measurement is, you can just go to the values column here, and you can look at it. Again, you have those that are not applicable, but then you can see that this is ordinal level, very close, close, not very close, not at all close, and can't choose. Okay, so what that's saying is there is a range. Okay, any of these, the main levels, are either more or less than another, but you won't know exactly how much it's more or less than the following or the previous category. Okay, and it should be denoted here, whether it's nominal, ordinal, or scale, also meaning interval or ratio. But sometimes when you download a data set from an external source, that may be shifted, and I think that's what happened in the majority of the cases here. But just wanted to find one ordinal, and we'll take a look at that. All right, so I'll look for this variable, and the way that I'll find it is I'll kind of go over here to the variable level, and it is CLSE town. All right, so in order to find that on the data, you would just kind of go over here, and they've labeled it in a way that it's alphabetically ordered. Okay, so again, descriptive statistics, frequencies, and we'll now return our original variable, and we'll look for that variable that we were just talking about, close to town. Again, it's alphabetically ordered, and so we'll come right down here, and this is it. All right. I'll just move it over to the variable, and we'll select. Now it still has the original central tendency, and we need to change that because now we're dealing with ordinal level data. So we'll select median, and again, if you're interested in any of these dispersion procedures, you can select that. We'll go to continue, and then the chart. You can use a pie chart with ordinal level data. But to keep it simple, especially when you have ordinal level data, you can have a number of categories, and it could go all the way up to the teens. Hopefully no more than that, because it'll be considered interval level data. But I like to use the bar chart when I have a number of categories so that they won't bunch up in a pie chart. All right, so you can have, again, the absolute, or you can have a relative number, and I like percentages, so I'll go with that. Once I've selected that, I'll go to OK, and then it will return with my information, and you can see here it has the median is 2, and I think that's associated with close. Okay, and you can check the data if you want to play around with the data and become familiar with it. All right, so we still have our absolute and our relative frequency, and then the valid. And again, taking into consideration that there are missing responses, and that this is calculated without those. All right, cumulative is like a tally, an ongoing running tally of the responses based on each level. All right, so at very close, 25% of the folks were there. 67.3% of the folks either selected close or very close. When we get down to 90.3, that's nearly all of our respondents. They have either selected not very close, close, or very close. Okay. Looking at the bar chart, again, you can change the color and the data that are displayed. And if you want a little bit more detail, instead of trying to figure out where the actual bar lies, then just double click in that and you'll get your chart editor. And then you can save time by hitting that, and it will return with this information. The actual percentages of your data. All right. When you close it, you'll find that it's still there on your original analysis. And so the last procedure that I'll show you is frequencies, and is actually the histogram for the frequency of income. And I think I might have saved some time. I went to Analyze and frequencies, and then I've already moved it over to save time with the video. For this, we will move it to mean because we have the continuous data. Continue, and Even though the bar chart looks a little bit like the histogram, we want to go actually use